And get started. Do we anticipate everybody being here this evening?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the chair will call the meeting to order for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. We'll assume all members will be in the room. All members participating in the meeting are present or wish or shall be in the meeting room. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in this meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. With that, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Mr. Manon was well-timed and did exactly what he should do right there. Good for him. Well done. Okay. Item number 2 on the agenda, public forum. Residents are invited to share ideas, opinions, or ask questions regarding their town government. Anyone here this evening for public forum? A stranger, please join us.
Ken Weissmantle, 145 Ash Street. Last few sessions I've been talking about wellhead protection. And I think you guys have finally kind of got that. Hopefully we'll be seeing some stuff as a result of that. So I'd like to switch gears a little bit. It's a little different wellhead protection. There was a very interesting study, at least to us water-type geeks, that went out and was looking at, does a sewer treatment plant take out PFAS? There's a lot of work where the sludge from a sewer treatment plant has been on farmland and that has contaminated the land and to the point where it's no longer good for agriculture. But they also found that it came out in the water, the treated water that was recycled into the ground or into a river. And that's significant. This is like 25 or 30 million people might be affected in this way. That study was also looking at PFAS, but it was also looking at the common drug losartan, which I believe is Lipitor for those of us that take cholesterol drugs. And that was in the effluent of treatment plant. So I would like to kind of make a public service announcement that if you have unused drugs, don't throw them in the trash, because that's not the right thing to do. Certainly don't flush them down the toilet, because that's not the right thing to do. But our police department has a nice container in the lobby where they will take all your unused drugs. And CVS also has one of those right near the pharmacy counter. So if you've got unused drugs, dispose of them properly. Switching gears again. An interbasin transfer decision takes about 3 years from the time you start serious discussions with the Water Resources Commission staff to the point where we get around voting it. It's a very long and tedious process, in which I think we're about to embark. The first question that was asked of the Hopkinton folks at the meeting is, why do you want or why do you need 2.7 million gallons a day when we currently use about 1.7 million gallons a day? I think there needs to be some serious public discussion as to why this great increase. Are we going to be building out more of Hopkinton, that we see that we need that? Do we see that our PFAS contamination is so widespread that we need to provide public water for all these people whose private wells are contaminated? There's got to be a rationale that you get from 1.7 million gallons a day to 2.7. And then if you're going to ask for all this expansion, who pays for it? The current guys, water users, or the town as a whole? It all depends on why you're going for it. So anyway, that's kind of the teaser for maybe in a couple more weeks of discussion of talking about why we might need water and some more of the interbasin transfer process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public forum, please?
Hi, Jessica Jack Miller, 111 Main Street.
Hopkinton is a beautiful, welcoming, vibrant, and mostly diverse town. In 2020, many of you pledged to stand together against systemic racism. And most of you were here at that time. Some of you, like Joe, you were not here at that time. And then a few short years later, the town then vowed again to support diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. As we've seen on a national scale, so much and so many leaders have been recently seeking to sow division. In Hopkinton, I hope that we're all uniting together to seek to unite and be an example for others in a path of unity. Tonight, I would like to ask each of our select board to reaffirm our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging in our town. Amy, do you reaffirm your commitment?
Hang on a sec, please.
Why can't you?
We cannot do that here. This is not an agenda item. We cannot discuss, debate, what have you, anything that's not posted on the agenda. It is illegal to do so.
It's already been committed as a town.
We cannot do that. Okay, please continue with your comments, but we cannot get into a dialogue.
Excellent. Then I would like to propose an agenda item for the next select board meeting to reaffirm each person and go on the record to affirm your commitment and reaffirm the commitment as each individual on record for your commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging as we as a town affirmed a couple years previously in town meeting. Thank you, and I would really hope that everyone does so.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation. Thank you. Okay, anyone else, please? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item, the consent agenda. The select board will consider the following consent agenda items. A, minutes. The select board will consider approving minutes from the January 21, 25 meeting. A new employee. The select board will consider confirming the town manager's appointment of Matthew Leather as administrative assistant for the Hopkinton Public Library. And C, accept a gift. The select board will consider accepting a $500 donation from the Irvine Foundation for the fire department for use where needed. Does anybody want to break out any items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Thank you. Item number 4, the affordable housing discussion, Zero Knoll Road. Elaine, can you introduce this topic for us, please?
Jack Nealon is present. He's the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board.
Great.
He's here to talk about their activities and also touch on the Knoll Road digital project.
Great, thank you. Welcome, please.
Thank you for having me. So the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board has been fairly active. As you all know, the town is above the requirement for affordable housing, so we're kind of planning for the future challenges that are to come. Specifically, in addition to the Zero Knoll Road property, the committee, the board right now is working on a proposed amendment to the calculation fee in lieu for units, where developers can give the town a fee instead of actually building a developable or a affordable unit. At this time, that fee is way below what it costs to build a 3-bedroom affordable. So we're working with the zoning advisory committee to update that language to something more tolerable that could actually lead to more affordable units being constructed. There's also some units in Hopkinton that have expiring affordability restrictions on their deeds. So we are in early stages in negotiating with some of those owners to ideally revise their deed and have them execute a deed to sign their units over in perpetuity for affordable restriction. And then most recently brought by Habitat for Humanity member, he's also on the Westboro Affordable Housing Committee, was this Zero Knoll Road property, which was unknown to us at the time, but has become a project that I think the town might see in the near future as an affordable housing option, and potentially even up to 2. There might be some room on the lot to make it a duplex. The town needs affordable housing. You know, we need places for our people who live here to work and to be able to carry on. So, you know, we're hoping that this parcel was pushed through in 2013, I believe. I think it was already voted for, and Lance has been helping form an RFP where developers can actually bid the project, so it's decent along in the process. I think at some point we do need a formal vote from this committee though, right? From the Board of Selectmen. I'm not sure if that's before us tonight, but just want to lay the foundation for the project and let you all know that it's going to be coming up in hopefully short order here.
Okay, great, thank you for that intro. Questions, comments? Elaine, do you have anything you want to share before?
No, we would have to go through an RFP process to sell the property for the purpose of affordable housing.
Okay. Mr. Manon, anything?
Just general, thank you for all the good work that you and
Sure.
forward. Couple of things. One is that I heard you mention it. I just want to confirm. We were with the last census, we were reaching 10% threshold for affordable housing, right? Is that projection still looking at stake, or you think with these efforts we are going to be okay, because that would trigger another zoning law, right?
Right. Yeah. From what I've heard from the planning department, we're not very close to the 10%. I think we're at 12 something at this point.
No risk at this time then. Okay, thank you. And another general one, recently, I think it's effective from coming Sunday, or it was from last Sunday, the ADU, new ADU law that state has does that impact the work? And I think, you know, in a way we can perhaps promote that or be part of the affordable housing campaign that you are doing. What are your thoughts or anything that you think in the coming days you can do? This is the accessory dwelling unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm quite familiar. I don't know that it would increase the housing stock in the town because it has to be an accessory to a primary dwelling. I think it's a great way for, you know, aging parents to be able to age in place. I don't know that it would be the key factor to adding more housing stock in the town, because it wouldn't be a new address by any means. It would just be an additional dwelling on an existing parcel. But there's a decent amount of those going on now with the in-law apartments, so I think it's a great way to allow people to age in town, and I think you'll start seeing more of them.
Yeah, I think so too, with all, you know, housing crisis that's looming and the prices and all that. And something to think about, if we have existing affordable housing somewhere, where there's potential to build up something in the backyard or close by, and that will add to it. So this law is essentially promoting that single house or single residences can add an ADU unit for in-laws or for rental purpose without going through the zoning changes or special permit requirement. So that should encourage more affordable units is the goal. So this may be something to explore.
But they still need to comply with zoning.
Of course.
Right.
Comply with zoning, but not special permit.
Not special.
required. So that reduces that. And final words, I was in the meeting some time ago, but I don't know if there was any further traction. Is there any way we can build some or propose something that can help more affordability for our veterans, our senior citizens, and our first responders? I know it's not exactly how affordable is defined today.
Right.
One thing I was interested if we can explore through your committee's, you know, talents and research, something to keep on.
Yeah, I think we could definitely look into kind of how to break it out into certain sections of the population.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mr. Finer.
Hi, I'm really glad to see you here. But what I really want to know is, years ago, we had a problem. We had a condo complex that had affordable housing, and the units were all bid on, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, we didn't have any more. And there was no watchdog. And they found out that if they didn't sell it for the affordable price within a certain amount of time, then they could have a realtor put it on the market at full price. and they got together, and it was done. And so we lost quite a bit of affordable housing in that little deal. So I want to know what kind of deeded restrictions and what kind of watchdog, what kind of teeth do you have in your background, in the background for this committee for this kind of housing?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point. I think that might have been what led to the creation of this trust fund board, to be honest. So we do have a list of all housing stock that's deeded affordable in Hopkinton, as well as those that are termed when they expire. So there are some coming up as soon as 2029 that, to your exact example, are restricted affordable now, but as of January 1st of 2029, the owners of that unit could sell it at full market rate because it's no longer deeded restricted. So we're going to work with town council to negotiate with those folks to see if we can buy their deed restriction to leave that unit affordable in perpetuity, which I bet if we could go back years and years, that's what those boards would have done back then, is made it in perpetuity, not for a term of 25 or 50 years, whatever it was.
Okay, number two. I was an assessor, and we had this problem with the housing additional units for family and elderly and all of that sort of thing. But when it came to rental units, it became a two-family home and assessed differently because you're making money off of the unit. And I'm wondering how that is going to work.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that's in for the Affordable Housing Committee, only because it's not affordable housing. Just because it's an ADU doesn't mean that there's affordable requirements, so it really wouldn't come in front of us. I do think it's something to explore, because when it goes from having an in-law apartment to then having rental income,
or
it should be taxed on the
accessory unit that's taxable as a two-family.
Right.
It will be very different than a one-family with a accessory. In-law accessory.
I don't think the new state, I don't think they specified or defined how to assess those properties.
Well, the assessors do. They're assessing them,
Right.
So, okay, those help me a little bit.
All set? Mm-hmm. Mr. Clark.
Nothing additional. Thanks for bringing this up. Look forward to seeing the RFP work through.
Thank you for coming. This seems like a really good idea. I'm glad we have some interest. So at a future meeting, we will schedule a vote on this, right? And then,
Correct.
And you'll make a recommendation of how we can move forward. Okay. And then I did wonder, but I think it probably is not the case. The apartments going in above where Hopkins Drug used to be, they would not be counting toward our stock, right? Because they're being developed as a regular development, not as a 40B.
Which apartments?
Above the Hopkins Drug, or I mean, in that area.
I haven't looked at the permit, but to see if there is a percentage of affordable housing there.
Okay.
There may be.
Okay, thank you.
Back to Mary Jo's question quickly, and maybe I should know this. When we do an affordable housing project or a project with affordable housing and it gets set aside, a certain number of units get set aside, can the developer do that in certain timelines? Or is it always 20 years or 30 years? Or how long is that deed restriction in place? Like maybe some of the ones you were worried about, they're 5 years and they just disappeared and we didn't even plan for it being that short. Is there rules around that, I assume?
It's a part of the negotiation to get the project approved.
Well, I'll bet you a few of them
moving
then.
forward, it would be very prudent of any board to make sure it's in perpetuity, not just for a term, because there's no sense in doing it than to lose the units to a termed restriction.
So maybe some of those were in that scenario where it was a quick term and then that was it.
So I would like to add this, so that the development that we're talking about, I think, was built in the 80s and early 90s, and those were the ones with the faulty 30-year deed riders. But everything else is in perpetuity since then.
Did you say faulty?
Yes.
Okay. So that was
It was a state issue, and so they agreed with the town after we met with them extensively that they would keep them on the list. So they're still considered affordable units, even the ones that have expired. But I think after a period of time, they may no longer carry those as counting on our inventory.
But everything since then, now it's
in perpetuity.
Okay.
I think there's 22 units in the town right now that are due to expire, is the number. So those are the folks that we're going to negotiate with in the next 20 years, not lose any more.
How many are in perpetuity? Do you know?
I don't know that exact number, though. Probably double that would be my guess, and anything newly constructed.
What's the time frame for those 22? Is that over the next year, 5 years?
No, it's between 2029, 2045, or something like that. So there is a bit of time period. I think we're going to try to reach out to all of them at the same time, though.
Okay, well, we appreciate you coming this evening. Thank you for the update.
having
We'll
us.
look forward to when we can tackle that one project.
All right. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot. Okay, next up, item number 5. We're running a couple minutes ahead of schedule. I don't see any reason why we couldn't get into this. The Select Board will consider reviewing the list of all annual town meeting articles submitted and discussing the language of its articles. Elaine, you want to walk us through this?
Sure, so we did include in the packet a list of the Select Board articles that you voted to submit, and then the ones that the town manager has submitted. We didn't provide a list of all articles because the warrant was still open at the time, so the warrant did close yesterday, and we're putting together that list for the next meeting. But the board did vote to submit some articles, and some additional drafting and discussion is needed on some of those.
We had 4 or 5, was it?
You have 6.
6.
So there's the 2 regular recurring articles, the accepting of town reports and the setting the salary of elected officials. And then there's the center school lease authorization, the home rule petition.
Let's do that real quick.
Okay.
So we want to have a quick discussion here on these. We don't need to talk about the reports, and we don't need to talk about the annual salary for the town clerk, I don't think, unless someone's got an opinion on those two. But I think they've been around for 300 years. On the center school, setting up a lease, authorizing a lease, correct?
Correct.
Anybody want to get in on that at all for any reason? Amy, any questions, comments on that?
I think we had a pretty thorough presentation before, so I don't think I have any further questions.
Okay, Joe?
Nope, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, but I think everyone was in agreement, like, we need to move forward with that project. The private-public partnership is the only path forward, so a lot of support for it.
Okay, good.
I have one word, finally.
Okay, Mr. Manon?
Yeah, same. I can't wait, and I think private-public partnership is what we are encouraging, and this will help expedite that. So, all for it.
The board supports putting that one in again, and I don't think we have much sort of conversation around it left, so we're all in.
Okay.
Okay, this next one?
The next one is a home rule petition to establish an economic development special revenue account into which the new meals tax revenue would be deposited.
Another one we've had some good discussion on in the past. I think we were all united then. Everyone appears to be united now. Is that fair?
Well, we left it last week that we kind of left broad language in it, at this point, as kind of a placeholder. Our guess is that we're going to amend that going into town meeting so that because by then we'll have the first deposit, the first quarter's, tax revenue. So we can say, hey, this is what our annual projections are going to look like from this excise tax, and we can do a much more detailed description of how we're going to use these funds at that time.
So the warrant itself is good for now, right? We all agree with that. And the motion itself is what you're describing can be fine-tuned as we get close to town meeting.
And this
Really
is,
nail down how we want to do it.
and this is just to create the account to hold the money
Yeah.
so that we can then later spend it, so.
Yeah, I think the motion would work to your point. Yep. Okay, so I think we're good on that one, Elaine. What's the next one?
Next one is creating an Office of Economic Development, which would be a general bylaw amendment, so that would have to be drafted.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of
So
that.
that would have to be drafted. We'd have to draft a bylaw to be adopted to create an Office of Economic Development.
So would we draft that bylaw in advance of this town meeting, or is this town meeting just to say, go ahead and draft the bylaw?
No, we would have to draft the bylaw that town meeting would adopt. So
Okay.
what we have is, the parameters of thoughts as to what that might entail, but that needs to be fleshed out and drafted.
Okay.
And it-
A little context to this. So this is related to the Economic Advisory Board that we've been, we discussed a little bit, and we wanted to discuss more to form. And this is to provide that support and thought leadership to use our excise tax to form Economic Development Office, and also to strategize for future economic development in town. Now, one thing we also discussed is that this is a placeholder now, and in the meantime, before town meeting, if we get to put it on the agenda and discuss and form that through select board approval, which we are also authorized to do, then we may not need it in the town hall as a bylaw. So right now, keeping it as a placeholder until we sort that out for that, because I really think, and we all discussed, we need to get it going and make it happen, especially now that we are in a great shape, or better shape, I should say, with some excess tax funding, which is going to fuel this effort. And we would also want, transparency of the funding allocation, usage, and proper strategy to oversight this. This is a good time to really resolve that. And a couple other warrants are also along the same line, how we can allocate the excess tax for economic office, government office build out, and the cost for it related to that. And those are, again, in my view, we are keeping as a placeholder. And subsequent to our discussion as an agenda item, we can decide if we need to keep them or modify them, or our actions through that agenda discussion would be sufficient.
So when you say excise, you mean meals excise, correct? Okay, got it, thank you. Okay, yeah, I think this one's going to be a separate agenda item. Mary Jo?
Well, I have a question because I'm not fond of earmarking. I mean, I think it should, all the money, taxes should go into a general fund and then earmarked or brought out. I don't like earmarking ahead of time that we're going to collect this tax for this particular purpose, because the purpose is going to end at some point in time, and it has to be really spelled out as to where the money's going to go after that. It can't stay in an earmarking pocket forever. And yeah, I have a problem with saying this has got to be used for this department only.
But isn't that exactly what we sent to the state, or we intend to send to the state?
So that's what the board had discussed doing, but we haven't done that. We have to do that through that legislative petition.
That'll be part of that process. Okay, so I'm ahead of the curve. All right, well, you'll have your chance when it gets there in town meeting, right? Okay, you good?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I just, you know,
You're all
it's
in on it.
tough.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm a little worried. The first article to create the fund, I'm very much in support of. The second one was marked E, the create the Office of Economic Development. I'm a little worried that that's a little premature, because we can't really fund staffing for a person until we have a better idea, a longer period of time to collect the money to see how much money it's going to bring in every year. So I agreed to, I thought we should put it as a placeholder, but I'm not sure it's really ready for this year. So if we decide to, we could remove things before the warrant is signed, right, in April?
That's correct.
Okay. So we can, so Brian, did you say we'd have a bigger discussion about it later?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to come
Okay.
back to this one.
I think that sounds good.
Get a little closer to town meeting. Right?
Right.
Everybody good for now? So we will come back to this one. The other three or so we've already covered, we're good. What's the next one, please?
The next one is to establish an Economic Development Advisory Board. And that would also have to be a general
I'll be
bylaw.
part of that next conversation. That'll all be one big thing.
But there are multiple ways to create boards, and one of them is through a bylaw amendment, but as you know, the board can also create boards on its own as well.
Let's cover that when we get to that whole topic, right? We'll do that separately. Anything
We
else?
might be able to just do that before town meeting if we wanted. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
And the last one that the board voted to submit was encouraging voluntary PFAS testing by private well owners.
Okay.
Excuse me, could you repeat, please?
The final article is to encourage voluntary PFAS testing by private well owners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we were going to talk about this more once we got a opinion from legal counsel, correct?
And the health department.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely, the more I've thought about it over the past week, like the no mandatory disclosure, I'm really not comfortable with. If you have radon in your house or lead or asbestos, you have to disclose that. So I think if you know you have PFAS, I think you need to disclose that too, myself. But the other components of it seem fine. Yeah.
Through the chair, we're going to find out from the council what's the best way to do that. But I do think that, knowing the problem is the first thing for solution or for understanding where things are. And everyone should be aware as much as they can. And otherwise, I see that it can be a public health issue 10 years, 20 years from now, that everyone is, because of the challenges with disclosure, with the cost, imminent cost that it might incur, as well as the mandatory disclosure, which may impact their real estate. People are fearful, and that's why we probably don't have any reported PFAS on private well. But if you think about it, we have almost 4,000 households that may have mixed up the number, at least 2,000 plus private well households, right? So if none of them have tested, and with all that going on in PFAS across towns and across the country and across the globe, it's very likely many of us have PFAS. I'm on well water as well. Now, if I don't test, and in good faith, if I don't take any remedy, God forbid, 10 years, 20 years from now, there would be health issues around. So it is, I think, our duty to encourage people to do the testing and, use their judgment to do the right thing for their family, for their own health, which will impact and help overall public health in the long term. So that's the essence of or spirit of this warrant.
So why don't we obviously have a second agenda item in the near future specific to that article and have some more discussion around that, so we're ready, and we've got to figure out who's going to present and so on. But we've got time, so I think we're good for now. Okay? Any others that the board was considering or submitted? Or
Warrant is closed, so
okay?
that's what we have.
And now, other articles on the warrant that we may or may not weigh in on. How many warrant do we, is it closed? So you said it's closed.
It's closed. Warrant closed yesterday.
I've only gone to Florida for a week. I feel like I've missed a whole lifetime here. Anyway, so it's closed. How many are there?
We haven't counted.
That many? There's that many that you can't count
Maybe
them?
less than last year.
I'm sorry?
We may be less than last year. We did take care of a few at the special town meeting in November.
Okay.
Maybe a few less.
All right, good. Is it crazy, the numbers?
I don't think so.
All right, good. Okay, so we'll come back to those, and we'll have to look at those others and see if there's others that we would weigh in on at some point
Yes.
before town meeting. Okay? All right. With that, we're going to skip item agenda number 6 for a little bit, because that's a scheduled public hearing at 6:45. We'll come back to it. We're going to skip number 7 because we don't have some of the key folks here for that. We're going to skip number 8 because I think that's going to take us longer than what we have here, which is about 13 minutes. So we're going to go to number 9 for now, which is the town manager report, which I think we can proceed with without worrying about the time.
Okay. So just regarding the Main Street Corridor project, the Daigle Electric has completed connections into buildings. The buildings are on the underground power. Eversource has completed all of their overhead and underground work, with the exception of some minor work in 2 locations. And they notified the town that they'll start removing the overhead lines between the police station and Nash Street. Everything is finished. Comcast is nearly complete with all of their overhead work and working on the underground work. Same with Verizon, will follow Comcast. And existing utility poles located between the police station and Ash Street will be removed by Verizon once they've completed all their work. And Verizon may remove poles as their work progresses, as opposed to waiting for all of their work to be completed. So things are moving along even in winter, which is good.
Awesome.
So one quick comment. I was in a meeting the other day with the team, and the streetlights downtown are going to be energized soon, meaning they're going to turn them on. So we've been living in Hopkinton Center now for 2 or 3 years with very low lighting because we took out some stuff as we were doing all this work. So when they first turned them on, the town could look like a Christmas tree compared to what we're used to. But the lighting also has dimmable settings that a computer somewhere is going to be set up. They can hit a button and bring it down. So when the lighting first gets turned on, it's going to look different. It might be really bright. It might be really dim. We shouldn't panic and start sending emails and jumping on social media and raising holy heck. We're going to figure it out. But it'll be pretty cool to see all that lighting get turned on. There's quite a bit of it downtown. So it is coming. Last I heard was the week of February 11th, which I think is next Monday, somewhere around there, is when they're going to be here with the software folks to energize the light fixtures. So I would say in the next couple of weeks, that's going to happen.
Through the chair, does that include the crosswalk lights? Because that's been a problem too.
That's part of that whole process of energizing all the lighting, all the, accessories downtown. Yeah, lighting, crosswalks, other stuff.
Okay.
So it's going to be cool, but it's going to be a change. So be ready for it, please, Hopkinton. And don't panic. We'll figure it out. We can dim it down or we can brighten it up.
We have budget for a mini celebration.
What's that?
Do we have budget for a mini celebration?
A mini celebration? I don't think too many people want to do that.
But this
Sorry,
will be,
Len, go ahead.
yeah, a milestone and a nice change in the downtown.
The next item is there's a position opening up at the Department of Public Works for heavy equipment operator, and Director of Public Works is requesting that they be allowed to post that position, which is available in February.
So that is an ask of the board this evening, correct?
It is.
Okay, so per our policy that we put in place, we're going to check these things, make sure that we're all thinking about it, and then we're going to have a motion and a second and a discussion if we want to replace that heavy equipment operator. Right? I think it's winter time, we got a lot going on in town, and we've got a budget that we're working on. I think it would make sense to replace, but I don't know how others feel. If somebody wants to make a motion, we can get on with it.
So moved. That we replace the heavy equipment operator position at the DPW.
Okay, we have a motion to replace.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Amy's going to abstain, okay? Next up item, please, agenda, Elaine, sorry.
Next up is the draft 2024 annual report of the board and the Office of the Town Manager for your review, was attached to my report. Basically, we took last year's and updated the numbers and some of the things that the board did during the calendar year, 2024.
Okay? Any questions, comments on the annual report? I assume this will be ready for town meeting? Is it distributed at town meeting, or we send it out in advance of
It
that?
goes in advance, at least 2 weeks before town meeting.
Okay, but it's at that time frame, basically. It's not going out tomorrow.
And the printed version is at town meeting. Yeah.
And then it'll go to the website and everything else once it's published.
Through the chair, just to confirm, there were some, I think, phone numbers that were mistaken the last year's one. So just some of those, if you can take a closer look this time, that would be helpful.
So what?
I think it was the select board's phone numbers last year or the year before. That was.
I think that's the directory, the Women's Club directory. Our numbers have been wrong in there.
Phone numbers in this report.
Yeah, I don't recall my cell phone going,
There's no,
love the town, but that's not happening.
I did have a couple.
But I don't remember seeing the latest. But anyhow, that's good news. I mean, we want to correct the information. One quick question I had for the position vacancies. Now that we are almost mid-year, how many of the budgeted positions do we have filled out, and how many are left? Do you have top of your head estimate?
I don't have that information today. Thank you.
You can see that? Thank you.
All set? Yeah. Anybody else, any other questions, comments on the town manager annual report or the town manager report in general?
I did. In looking at the report, it lists our goals from FY '24, which was before we had 2 new members. So I think so they're just copied from last year. I think it would be good if this board sat down and ironed out our goals, whether they're the same or different. It's something boards should do. And I didn't realize we're already halfway through the year and we haven't done that yet. And
Okay.
that is one of our roles as select board, to set the goals, right?
Board should set
Yes.
goals.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
All set? Okay. We'll move on then to item number 10, liaison reports. Still running a little ahead of schedule here. Mrs. Ridbush, any liaison reports?
I don't think so. Trying to remember if we had, I don't know if I mentioned, but Shahidul and I went to the Chinese American Association Lunar New Year event, which was, I think it was after our last board meeting, but it was a very great event, well attended at the high school. A lot of good food, a lot of good performances. So I want to thank them for putting that on.
Was that last Wednesday?
Well, the holiday was last Wednesday, but the celebration was on the weekend.
It was
the
on
weekend prior.
Saturday.
Yeah,
It was really wonderful and joyful, very vibrant.
All set?
I think so.
Joe?
I'm all set.
Okay. Mary Jo?
No, I'm all set right now.
Mr. Manon?
I am all set, yeah.
Okay. I was not able to attend the chamber event where they thanked Tim Kilduff for his 30 years of service. Was on that trip to Florida that's got me all messed up here tonight. But I did make a video. I think Mr. Manon made a video, and maybe others did. I heard the event was great. I heard it was really well attended. And Tim, as always, did a really nice job on behalf of the town and the chamber. So congratulations to him. And I'm sure he'll continue his efforts because he's got a big project on the east side of town he's got his eye on. So we'll be seeing him around.
It was a good event.
Did you go, Joe? Yep. Oh, great. Did you want to talk about it for a sec?
Well, I think, like you said, he's dedicated 30 years to the chamber, and, he's done so much for the town. I think the big thing was, he's prided himself on doing it in the background, right? He's never needed to be front and center, and he's helped move a lot of things forward in Hopkinton, and he's going to continue to do so with the 26.2. So it was just really great to see the chamber set this up and have so many people come out, thank him, and just show their gratitude.
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm glad you were able to go, that's great.
If I may add,
Sure.
On the same note, I'm a big fan of Tim Kilduff and his work. He's done exemplary work as a community leader and community service, which I think we are seeing fading out a little bit, unfortunately, but he's definitely done so much for our town to promote our town as a marathon starting point, and with the 26.2, it's just everywhere. I think everyone admires what he's doing, and our town is grateful. We are grateful for his work, and all the best, and can't wait to see his dream and his work coming true in the coming years. So thank you, Tim, and it was a wonderful event. I heard I couldn't join either. Sent my notes.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, let's go to item number 11, future board agenda items in terms of anybody want to add to the list. We have a list that's somewhat lengthy now. I don't think we need to go all through all this because we know what these are. We've talked about getting them on there, and Elaine, we got to start really trying to do that. That's on me. Some of these I should have been putting on here, pushing a little bit harder. So if we could try and maybe tick one or two of these off, some of them we've already dealt with to some extent. We haven't quite finished it, but I think we got to get a little bit more focus on this, and that's my fault. So I'll work with you on that. But anybody want to add anything to this list in the next 3 minutes?
I would like to add
At the last meeting, I brought up the senior tax credit hours that they're not getting. And I did talk to a couple of state people, and I really don't know. We're going to have to do something for these people as a town and not look toward that program to supplement them, even though they were doing it. So I don't know whether we have to do it as a home rule petition to try to get something, or just set something, a fund ourselves just to fund these people, because there's not many of them now. I mean, most of them are part of the work-off program, but there are some that are not, and because they were, but a couple of particular jobs are not considered part of the work-off program, so they lost their funding.
Okay,
So I'm trying to figure another way to do it.
That's on our list, Elaine. It's timely, obviously, as we head into the tax, setting with budget and everything else. So let's try and do that one. We'll highlight that one. Mrs. Ritterbusch, you were going to say?
I did just want to officially request that we put the FY25 board goals as a future agenda item, and then also, as Jack Miller brought up tonight, that we could consider reaffirming our stance on DEIB. I know a lot of people in town are feeling vulnerable now.
I'm sorry, I missed that. The FY25 board goals, got it.
Yeah, and consider reaffirming our position on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. A lot of people in town are feeling vulnerable. I heard there was an incident this weekend.
Okay. Anything else?
Through the chair, I have just two. One is something we already have, MWRA Connection and Water Advisory Board. It would be a good idea, I think, to have our water board members to come and have a discussion, and we can help set some of our priorities that we have been talking about, the MWRA Connection, the agreement, the application, and also PFAS-related activities. And finally, the water and sewer pricing framework and model. I spoke to a couple of members off-site, but I think it would be good to have them here, and we can align and help them set the goals and priorities. So that would be a good one to have. And second one, I was thinking, I was listening to the residents' voice tonight, and I think it would be a good, my personal opinion, good item to also put in and bring our commitment to diversity and equity in our wonderful town. And we always have believed it, practiced it. It would be good to just make that voice in our commitment, reaffirming that.
Got it on the list. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Are we good with the list?
We did have the Affordable Housing Trust Fund people here tonight to talk to us earlier.
Yeah, so we'll clean this up.
Affordable housing,
I got to
so,
meet with Elaine, and we'll clean this up a little bit as to the ones we tackled.
Just to piggyback on what Shaidul said about the Water and Sewer Advisory Board, I also, probably at the same event, saw some of the members this weekend, and one of them mentioned to me their goal is to be able to present to us at the end of March with their initial thoughts and recommendations, so maybe we could try to schedule them for after the end of March.
Yeah, do you want to touch on that Southborough thing right now? You know what, we'll do it when we get to the agenda item. Okay, got it. All right, so with that, we'll move on from item number 11, and we're going to go back to item number 6. Item number 6, the Select Board will hold a public hearing to consider an application for a transfer of Section 12 all alcohol on-premises license from DKW LLC, doing business as Central Public House, to Arcos Hospitality LLC, doing business as Arcos Cucina and Bar, located at 42 Main Street. The board will also consider approving a common victular license for them. Elaine, do you want to just kind of, so with that, the public hearing is now open, and Elaine, I'll turn it over to you for a quick sec to give any other info you want to share about this application.
So this is a transfer of alcohol license from Central Public House to a new restaurant. I don't know if the applicants are here. They are here. Perhaps they could talk a little bit about their new restaurant. From an economic development standpoint, but it would be in the same terms and conditions that all of our alcohol licenses are issued, same hours and things like that.
Okay. We're in a public hearing. We should spend a couple of minutes on this. We don't have a lot of time dedicated to this evening because it's probably going to be fairly straightforward, but I think it's fair to have the folks come up and say hello. But if the deputy chief would be so kind and help us close those doors, that would be really appreciated. Welcome, folks. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and explain what's going on.
Joe Alves. Mark Wispiansky.
Great.
Mark will be general manager at the restaurant.
Okay. So yeah, maybe just a little bit more background. So the restaurant is now the Central Public House, which is right over here, right? So it's going to change ownership. Is that what we're talking about?
Right. Yep.
Change in ownership, change of, just about everything, other than just the space and the kitchen equipment and whatnot. But new menu, new name. Obviously, Arcos Cucina and Bar is going to be what we're running by.
Okay.
Joe and I have been in the restaurant business for a long time, and we're excited to get started here, hopefully.
Great. Thank you for the background. I mean, this is a public meeting, so this is all going to get out there, guys. So I don't know how many people know this yet, so welcome, and thanks for coming in tonight. Anything else you want to share?
No, if there's any questions from us that you need as far as experience, or we'll be glad to share.
All right, great. Elaine, do you have any comments, any other comments, questions you want to share or ask?
I wanted to know when you were planning to open.
Hopefully as soon as possible. Obviously, this is part of the process that, we need to go through the state after this. So assuming that everything kind of gets sorted in the next, call it 4 to 6 weeks, we're hoping, soon after that, if there's a short period of closing time, I don't anticipate it being, more than a week unless we run into some issues, but we're trying to get the process moving as soon as possible.
Thank you.
So the restaurant is open now and will continue to stay open until the transfer takes place or close to it?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We'll be involved with Dennis to transition, because we want to keep some of the staff and make sure nobody has interruption in employment.
Makes sense.
Hopefully everybody stays, or most people.
All right, great. So next step in the public hearing process would be questions, comments from the board, and then we'll come out to the public, then we'll close the public hearing, and then we can take a vote on the transfer of the license, correct? Mr. Manon.
nothing much to add. Welcome, and we look forward to your opening. Certainly, we also are shining up our downtown for your coming in. It's coming soon. We are revamping our downtown. It's near completion, so great time to come in, and thank you for choosing Hopkinton. And I think everything seems to be in order from my perspective, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the front here?
Well, I was just reading here where it's Cucina and Bar. What, are you changing the menu kind of thing? Is it going to have a theme or something?
Definitely. I think we want to do some Italian fusion, but the menu is going to be totally different than what it currently is
Italian.
as Central Public House.
Okay, no, thanks, that's what I wanted to know.
How about the bread pudding? The bread pudding is awful. I mean, awesome over there, not awful. Awesome over there. It's awesome. Sometimes I go there for bread pudding alone.
I get it.
Well, we might put that
I
one.
was going to say, that might be checked on the list now, yeah, for sure.
Great. Thank you. All good?
Yeah, all good.
Mr. Clark?
No, welcome. Where have you guys been? You said you've been in the industry a long time. Where have you been most recently?
I'll let Mark go
Yeah,
first.
I'm-
I'll tell you.
I'm currently the general manager at Avenue in Medfield, which kind of a casual upscale restaurant, chef owned and operated, and I kind of did a lot of the back end of the business there. I've really enjoyed my time there for the past 3 years. I'm from Hopedale originally, and I'm currently a Hopkinton resident, so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to serve my community here.
Awesome.
Good.
I think he was just going to go quick.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I grew up in the business. After college, I went into the finance industry, and then September 11th came, and I went back into the business. I opened a business with my brother back in 2003 in the local town around here. I since then sold it about 2 years ago to another company, and this opportunity came up, and here we are again in the restaurant business, hopefully soon.
Okay. So you will be the owner, is that correct, or both
Well,
of you the owners?
there's three partners. The operating partners, you'll be the general manager, and Raymond is the chef.
There's three partners, and a general manager, and then, or you're one of the
one of the
partners?
partners as
Okay,
well,
that's what I was trying to understand.
The other one's not
Ownership
here.
is important for the license, right? Because that's who we hold accountable for, so you're both going to be owners.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All set, Joe?
I'm good.
Amy?
I don't think I have any questions. Everything looks like it's in order. The staff comments were positive. So yeah, welcome. We look forward to trying it when you open.
Thank you.
So I think it's going to be great, and I will check out the bread pudding or whatever version of that you have. But I always ask some of the questions that are a little fun, for some anyway. You have other licenses in Massachusetts, correct? How many other licenses do you hold?
Licenses as in alcohol?
Alcohol?
Now I don't hold any. My other licenses I sold.
So you don't have any alcohol licenses at this time?
No.
When you had, how many licenses have you had around alcohol in the past?
Just one.
One, okay. Any issues with that license? No violations, no shutdowns, no fines, nothing like that? Excellent, that's great, thank you. Okay.
It's a local restaurant, so, you know.
sorry?
It's a local town restaurant that I sold a couple years ago, so some people might know it.
We have local restaurants in town, they're here, they're
Well,
great.
not in Hopkinton. Not in Hopkinton.
We had some issues with licenses in the past, and we take this very, very seriously in a town full of a lot of kids, okay, that drive cars. And so we're very, very tight on one thing, and that is making sure our community's safe. And this alcohol license is a big piece of that puzzle. Not this one, but all of them in town. And we treat everybody fairly, equitably, but we don't put up with anything. And you'll see here in a few minutes, we're going to have the entire police department come in here. So hopefully this is the only time you ever see them, okay? But we do not mess around with our alcohol licenses, just so you know. Okay, with that, anything else the board has questions for during this stage of the public hearing?
Nope.
Okay, at this time, the chair will entertain any comments, questions, concerns from the public, given that this is a public hearing. Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, thank you for that. The chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, having sat through the public hearing, and given the public an opportunity, as well as the applicant and others, to speak, does the board have a preference as to what they would like to do with the alcohol license transfer request?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the transfer of the Section 12 all alcohol license from DKW LLC DBA Central Public House to Arcos Hospitality LLC DBA Arcos Cucina and Bar at 42 Main Street, and to approve a common victualler license for Arcos Cucina and Bar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion? Ms. Lazarus, the public safety folks, have they had a chance to weigh in on this issue? The application, all the different forms and so forth, all that is in order?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And those responses were in the packet as well.
Yeah, so everything's good there. We're all done with all that stuff.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Congratulations. Welcome to Hopkinton. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Excellent.
Okay, with that, that public hearing has concluded. We don't have to vote to close, end the public hearing itself. No, we just close the public hearing piece. Yeah, okay, got it. All right. Next up, item number 7 on the agenda. Police Department is asking the board to consider promoting Sergeant Aaron O'Neill and Sergeant Matthew McNeil to the rank of lieutenant as recommended by Police Chief Joseph Bennett. I see the chief.
If you're okay, Mr. Chair, we'll take these seats. I'll sit.
Yeah, that'd be great, however many you need.
You okay with the candidates going up together?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Give it a minute here, Chief, to let everybody come in. Don't know if we have enough room for everybody.
They're here for public comment.
Sorry?
They're here for public comment.
Yeah. There was a time. I hope Gary Doherty's not in the room right now. He'll be counting the number of people in there.
I saw him
Where's Chief Doherty?
He looks squeezed in the back right now.
right down the back.
He's squeezed into a corner, Kim.
There he is.
Okay, there's steps right there. If we have to get out of this room, go down that door right there, or go out those doors you came in. But we should be okay. We got everybody in here? We got a few
One more
folks
seat right
upstairs.
there.
Come on in, Noah. Come on, Noah, don't be shy, Noah. All right. I think we're good to go. Elaine, do you want to introduce the topic, then we'll turn it over to the chief?
All right, so we're here tonight to talk about the chief's recommendations for promotions to lieutenant for Sergeant Aaron O'Neill and Sergeant Matthew McNeil.
Great, thank you. Chief Bennett.
Well, it's a momentous day to be here. I'm very grateful for the longstanding and continued commitment to the police department from the board and all the town departments. Many of you have met through the interview process, which Director Leverance coordinated and oversaw, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity for you to consider the building out of your command staff now that the police department has been built out. And I believe the transition to 2 lieutenants fits with the workload, it fits with the assignments. It also recognizes that those 3 have been doing a lot of work above grade and really have dug in and committed to the department, as have many people in the department. But they're going to walk into their duties and basically assume a lot of duties that they've already been doing. So I'm grateful for the consideration. And I brought them in. And Deputy, if I may ask the Deputy if he has any additional comments?
Please.
Good evening. So thank you again for having us. This is part of our are forward-thinking and moving forward with our department and creating essentially distinct roles between an operations and an admin lieutenant. Some of those roles for the admin is going to involve the accreditation process, supervision of detectives and SROs, a sex offender registry, and our SEMLEC liaison with the motorcycle SWAT, drone unit, K9. Operations is going to be mostly dealing with our patrol staff and increasing with their training and their development as they progress through their careers, helping with post, and establishing all the required paperwork that's involved in that. Between the two of them, there's over 50 years of experience in Hopkinton, not only in law enforcement, a great wealth of knowledge between the two of them. And for a department that is growing leaps and bounds, I couldn't be more happy to have them at our side to assist us in developing our new officers.
Great, thank you. Jessica, you want to describe the process a little bit?
Sure. So the position was initially posted February 27th of 2024. The process played out, and Scott Van Ralton was promoted to the position of lieutenant from that process. And he had recently, December 18th, been promoted to deputy chief, leaving the lieutenant position open. We had established a list based on that process that included Matt McNeil and Aaron O'Neill as the other two individuals on the list. That list, as per the policy, is good for a year. And so that is why these two are now before you.
Okay, so that year covers from
the
last
original.
Year till now. Great, thank you. Anything else?
I believe that's it. They both performed beautifully in the process with the interview and the chief's assessment.
I may have missed this, Chief, but do you have a formal recommendation that you wanted to share with us?
I do. I request that the board consider and appoint Sergeant Aaron O'Neill and Sergeant Mac McNeil to the position of lieutenant within the police department.
Great, thank you. Mr. Manon.
Thank you again for all your service, both of you and Chief, Deputy Chief, the entire department, for keeping us safe, your dedication, and all the hard work. I just wanted to ask both the candidates, and I've gone through your background and files, and thank you again, over 25 years each for our town service. And it's very impressive resume, impressive set of work, and we have been through quite a few review in the past as well. Just in general, I think this is a good time to hear from you. How do you feel about stepping into this role, and how do you describe your leadership style as a lieutenant, and be ready for the future, making our police department continue its excellence?
I want to say I appreciate the opportunity to be in this position that I am right now. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity of learning what the next step is in my career, and have been trying to get as much knowledge as I can. As for leadership styles, I believe that you lead from the front, you lead by example, and you're there to mentor and help officers as they progress in their career.
Thank you. Same question.
Yeah, basically, I'm going to echo exactly what Aaron O'Neill just said. We've been kind of stepping up in our roles the last couple of years, and we're really looking forward to just moving forward. And now we got a full head of steam, and we've got the experience that we've just gained, excuse me, over the last 2 years. So, and my door is always open, and I think everybody knows that.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. And I think this is a great next step for building that next level leadership for our town's police department. So thank you.
Mary Jo?
I've been waiting for this night. I know, and in talking to some other people, I had said that I thought the Neils would be great in this position, and I'm glad to see it happen. Personal experience from waiting table at the senior center and Christmas parties and police department Christmas parties, and just helping me out with getting my car out of snowbanks and all kinds of things. I've gotten to know these two gentlemen, and I think that they're terrific candidates for this position.
Thank you. Thank you.
All set?
Yep.
I like how she said the Neils. That's pretty good.
I think this is exciting. This builds out the command staff. I think a lot of work's gone on in this department. You know, these last, 8-9 months, I've got to see it firsthand, working with all of you. So I think the town should be very excited to have you guys stepping into this role. I'm personally excited. So, you know, congratulations to both of you for being up here and for this.
Thank you.
Amy?
Yep, I had one, like a budgetary question that I think the public might be wondering too. In the past, we only had one lieutenant, but we just want to make sure that this is all budgeted for this year and the coming fiscal year too, that we're all set.
Aaron, you want to take that?
Yeah, fully budget, overwhelming, tons of money.
There's actually extra money, so that's why there's two of us.
No, in all seriousness.
Oh, there's extra money.
You're broke. Thought they were donating it. No, in all seriousness, you know, that's always a consideration. So we're making this move mid-year. We have some unexpended funds from the open prior positions. We're transitioning to a second lieutenant from a top step sergeant, which, as we've talked about in prior meetings, is a significant position within the department budgetarily. And we're going to go from a step 3 sergeant down to a step 1, which is a 10% variable there as well. Moving forward into FY '26-7, there is wiggle room within that 29th position, and I've met with the deputy, and we're going to assess that, as well as we're going to have to watch our budget. But I have no intention of asking for additional funds to fund this, and I personally commit to I will not be coming back for additional funding for FY '27.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
And then for the two lieutenant candidates, I just was going to ask if you could, for the public, could you talk a little bit about a project you led, maybe as you were a sergeant, and how that's prepared you to take on the next step in your career?
Sure. There's been a lot, so I'll narrow it down to, I guess, it's a tough one to narrow down, actually. Maybe the field training program, which I built up from the ground up years ago. And then ran that for a long time. And then when I started to transition into some other roles, I actually gave it up. So that was kind of a difficult decision, but I knew in the long run it probably would be beneficial to me and my future here to grow. So I've been mentoring Sergeant Burchard, who took it over.
Great, thank you.
So I was fortunate enough to take over a program that Tommy Griffin, who is here today, that I'm excited to see with the jail diversion program through Advocates. I believe it's been 9 years now since I've taken over that position, and through that time we've grown it. There was an absence for the past 2 years that we couldn't come to agreement with the program that we have, and for us to hire a clinician. We just recently hired a clinician, and we're rebuilding the program, which I'm excited about, and I really do feel that it's a very important part of policing, is building that co-response mental health programs within the department.
Thank you.
Building on that through the chair, it is my intention to bring forward, hopefully, Lieutenant O'Neill, introduce you to the new clinician, and give an outline of the program so that the community will know what they can expect.
Okay, great. All set? Thanks, Amy, for those questions, because that's what I was going to ask, so well done, and thanks for the information. I think the size of the department now, this makes sense structurally, and I know you've been planning for this. It sounds like the budget piece is organized, and you got your head around that too, so I'm all good. Okay, so based on the chief's recommendation to promote these gentlemen to the position of lieutenant, the chair will entertain, there's going to be two, well.
We have to do this individually?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
So if
I
anybody
move
wants-
to
yep.
promote Aaron O'Neill to lieutenant with the Hopkinton Police Department, and I also move to promote Matthew McNeil for lieutenant with the Hopkinton Police Department.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Lafreniere, and I think Mr. Clark got in on the second there just a hair faster than Mr. Manon. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Or any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? It is unanimous and so carries. Congratulations, gentlemen. Come on, Matt. Have these guys get a pin placed on their lapel. Do we have some cameras somewhere? There we go.
Well, we're going to do one at a time, just to get a good picture.
Yeah. Great. Thank you all very much. Thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. The Hopkinton Police Department keeps us safe every day. We thank you all. Thanks a lot.
Through the chair, thank you.
We're going to do one big picture of everybody in uniform. Everybody that's here, come on up. We're going to have these two gentlemen in front. And we'll just kind of hang back here.
Oh, no, you
Because
could
we'll never
give me
fit
a
up
short
there.
Someone take
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
a pic from up
that'd be a
top would
great
be
one.
really good.
All right, tighten it up. Well, friends.
Should we have some of the non-uniform guys we know are here, like Noah, come on up? And
Tyler, protected.
when you play football with my son, you're going to get pointed out every now and then. It's just how it works.
Was Greg trying to hide in the back?
He was.
See, Megan's here.
He's real discreet.
Anybody else that's not working today, come on up here. There we go.
One of the little guys.
Can you get them in? Can everybody get in up top there? Can you see?
Where are we looking? Let's look at Jessica. And then over here. And then up top.
All right, great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Congrats. Congrats. See you, Chief. Take care. We'll see you again soon.
All right, so nice to see the big group here.
I'll be here.
Oh, you'll be good. Don't go anywhere.
All right, Chief. So with that, we're going to go now to item number 8, which is the FY26 budget and capital meetings. Kyla, if you could find your way through the crowd and join us. And the deputy chief will help us. Thank you. Have a great night. Did Kylie get escorted out, or is she still here?
No, she's ready.
Do you want to join us up here? So we're going to go through several of the town's departments, not all of them, but some this evening, some at the next meeting, Elaine, right? We're going to chip away at this here. And the department heads are going to come in and explain their thinking on their particular budgets. And we can have any questions, comments we want. We're trying to keep this, folks, to about 10 minutes per department. Maybe we can go to 12. But if we have an open-ended time slot, we will be here until 3 in the morning. So it's going to require a little discipline on our part and that of our presenters. And then Kyla's excited to get us on track and keep us on track. So that's all good. So why don't we turn it over to Elaine real quick, and then we can go from there.
So first up tonight is Technology Services with Josh Grossetti, the Director of Technology.
Great, thank you. Kyla, do you want to share anything before we get going with Josh?
No, each department's going to highlight high level of what has been changed between their original submission and what's been approved by town manager, and any significant changes to the overall service that needs to be brought to your attention. So it should be 5 minutes.
Yeah, our goal here is to understand the overall budget for each of the departments and where the concerns might lie. We're not here to count pencils or pens. Okay, we're not going to go to that level of detail. That's what we got a lot of folks that are very capable of doing when they handle expenses and things like that. So high level and just kind of hit the key points that we need to understand. Please, Josh.
Sure thing. Thank you. Josh Grossetti, Director of IT. Happy to be here with you tonight to talk about the budget. The FY26 town manager's recommended budget for the IT department is $1,245,383. This represents less than 1.1% of the town's total operating budget that's currently proposed. Budget submission maintains level service with 2 additions. The first being additional licensing for a time and attendance module within the town's financial system, and the second being a proposed change in the payroll service provider. These 2 items account for 71% of the total net increase from the fiscal 25 budget to the currently proposed fiscal 26 budget. Otherwise, the budget has been very carefully reviewed to eliminate any nice-to-haves, and this prioritizes critical needs only. Do just want to note that for the 3rd consecutive year, the IT department has requested additional staffing, though the budget has not yet been able to accommodate that need.
Okay.
Any questions on the operating budget before we move to capital?
Questions on the operating budget?
No.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
One question I have, I'm sorry, back to that slide. It said there, additional licensing for a time and attendance tracking module in the town's financial system. What individuals would be going into that tracking module for time and attendance?
Would be staffing for the school district.
Staffing for the school district?
Correct.
And is that any kind of bargaining situation?
No. No.
Okay, good. All right. Please, expenses, is that what you want to go to next, capital expenses?
Sure.
Yeah.
We have 2 capital requests for the year. The first is ongoing program for our end user computer hardware refresh. So this is something that we do every year, part of a larger program. This year, that request is for $56,950. About $2,700 of that is contingency. And so this is just that ongoing program to replace end user computer hardware. So we don't have the staffing or power to, do that in one fell swoop. We've got about 180 computers townwide. And so we just do that on an ongoing basis. Look at about 4.3 years for a useful life out of a laptop and 5.5 years useful life out of a desktop. And so if you normalize that out over the cycle, this $56,950 represents right about on par with what a normal year would be. So this is, not an anomaly year of being drastically over or under that normalized amount. Second request is for $8,000 to replace aging multifunction printers. This started at a higher dollar value and has been reduced to $8,000 review process.
Okay, great. Questions on the capital requests?
Sounds reasonable.
All set? Everybody good? Okay, I think we are all set.
Excellent. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Well done.
5 minutes, wasn't it?
Right?
Less than 5 minutes, wasn't
I
it?
think it was right around 7 minutes, but who's counting besides me? Good job, Josh. Thank you. Next up, Fire Chief Doherty.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll have to cut mine down. I wasn't prepared for 5 minutes.
You're going through that entire binder. You got to cut that down. You're
That's
right.
what I initially was prepared to do, so.
I have talking points for you.
Oh, I got it right here. So thank you for giving us the opportunity tonight. To give you the high-level thing, the fire department's budget request this year is $4,133,358.18. The three big categories of salaries is $3,360,538, and the overtime is $420,000. Them two lines alone account for about 91.5% of the fire department's overall budget. The remaining $352,000 is the operations. Kind of the slide behind you, or in front of you, is basically any of our line items that have big changes. One of the requests that we did have was an additional community risk reduction, or a third fire prevention position. I wanted to look at this position as a different, like a collaborative position, kind of with the Board of Health. Some of our community risk reduction initiatives kind of overlap with the Board of Health, and this will be the third year that we've asked for it. My predecessors, both Chief Miller and Chief Slayman, have tried to get this position. That was just, if we were able to get that position, the budget would have increased by about another $70,000. So that's basically the salary section. Any questions, sir?
Which is 92% of the overall thing. Okay. Elaine, so this budget at this number is where you are with the budget process in general, putting it all together with Kyla, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions, comments? Mr. Milan, anything?
Yeah, just clarification. Does this include projected negotiation or projected numbers for fire department employees?
For salaries?
For salaries?
Yes. On the previous slide, if you see, it talks about, you'll see the changes, about $177,937. That's actually a 5.6% increase over the previous year. Last year, we've only came with you with a 0.8% increase. They were doing some negotiating. So this salary increase is basically 2 years' worth of raises, step increases.
Thank you.
Good. Ms. Lafreniere?
I believe we did discuss this at one point in time. This is your marshal position?
No, there is no additional positions. I was just saying my initial budget presentation or proposal had one additional position that is not funded in the,
Okay, okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Mr. Clark?
I'm good for now.
Amy?
And did you say, what are the R&M buildings that?
Okay, that's a, you'll see, I forget what the increase on that one is off the top of my head. That's an increase of about $5,300. That $5,300 is just a one-time expenditure. On the older section of the fire station, there's a bunch of circuit boards and electrical panels that have just aged. There's a lot of rust and rot, and we're having a lot of breaker issues. So it's a one-time repair. Okay. So next year, when we present the budget, you'll see a decrease of $5,300 in that item, or line.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I had.
So R&M is repair and maintenance?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. All right, I have no questions. I think it seems to be reasonable and in line with what we're trying to do, and we appreciate your help. Anything else you want to share with us?
No.
You all good?
Yep.
Kylie, you good? Elaine, you good?
Oh, with a
You want to do capital?
Capital, please.
Sure. So our first capital item is 2 mechanical ventilators for the ambulance. The total is $38,925.11. This would be purchased from the ambulance receipts reserve account, one for each ambulance. So the money's already kind of set there.
Okay.
Want me to explain what they're for? Or
I think we're good. We won't be using them directly, so. And I hope you don't use it on me.
So my next request is kind of with facilities. It's the bathroom upgrade for the living area. It's a $110,000 request, and it's for the 2 bathrooms in the upstairs. This year, hopefully when the AC project is done, our next goal is to rehab these bathrooms. These bathrooms are original to the 1997 edition, and other than a coat of paint, there's been no upgrades in the past 28 years. So our goal is to gut these bathrooms, redo the electrical, new tiles, new fixtures. Our biggest concern is once we start opening the walls, the floor and stuff is real spongy around the toilets, and there's no contingencies built into this if we find any type of rot or mold.
Anything else?
And that's it.
Okay, on these capital requests, both here and the previous one with Josh, are we thinking that's pay-as-you-go, free cash?
Except for the one ambulance fund.
Yeah, ambulance fund on the first.
The ambulance fund is covered by but the others, including Josh's, were pay-as-you-go, free cash, quote unquote, yeah. Okay. All right, I think we're good. You guys good?
Yep.
Thank you very much, Chief. We appreciate your time. Thank you for all the work you did to put it together. I know you did more work than you presented this evening. We know that, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Next up, we have, what do we have next? Fire, police, public safety communications. Police? What, police?
Through the chair, I can go, but we're committed through the evening. If you want to call the communications director up first.
Yeah, Megan
Is there an
first.
executive session with us?
Oh, I see,
It's
okay.
up to you, Tyler.
Yeah, that's great. Let's do communications, that's fine.
Megan?
Hello.
Evening.
Please, go ahead, Megan.
So I'm actually starting with capital. Several of you have heard the squeaky wheel that I'm about to be. Some of you are new to this. For the past about 4-ish years, we've been looking to upgrade our entire radio infrastructure for the town for public safety. It's in dire need. And I've been working on this for a while. In the last about year, we've finally made some good progress. We had 2 system surveys done about 3.5 years ago. Learned that our equipment is in very bad shape, that we need to essentially replace it. There's no more manufacturer support. Things are beyond life. And obviously that's a major safety concern for our responders, for the general public. We have several areas in town where we can't talk via radios to our responders. So that's, not a good place to not be able to help our responders or get information to our responders if they need it. So we began working with a consultant in about May of 2023. They did a full needs assessment and prepped us for the RFP. They essentially wrote the RFP for us and worked with us to get it posted and whatnot. So we received some results, some responses from that. And that consultant that we've been using has been going through and doing the tech review and sending back any questions they had for the responders. We got all that back, completed our tech review, and now we're in the process of the pricing review. We're in preliminary stages of that. We have opened the pricing, but they had several questions for the respondents. So we're waiting for those questions to come back. They're supposed to come back at the end of this week. So I have meetings with them every Monday. We should have a lot more answers as far as the number, but we're still, as of right now, have a placeholder, I believe, for 4 million. Is that 3.2? 3.2, okay. So that's kind of where my placeholder is right now, but hopefully have much more significant details next week-ish.
You said 3.2 on that, correct?
Yeah. Which Kyle and I are in connect all the time on these this project, so she will be the first to know it once I know. Another idea that had come up is a potential to, depending on how long the project itself is, see if we can span it 2 different fiscal years, if that may be helpful when it comes to funding. So that's essentially the state of that project, and it hopefully will be on for our town meeting this year for a vote. for that project, finally.
Is that a capital request, and that is pay-as-you-go? So would that be a separate article at town meeting, or would that be
It's one on the list of
one
capital
on a list
projects.
of many? Yeah. Okay. Let's just take that one at first, because that's a big number.
Sure.
Questions, comments on that capital request?
Just comments. I think it's direly needed. Thank you. We should get it. How old is the system? 25 years, the current one?
It varies. It ranges from probably between 22, 23 to about 30 years or so.
That's Hercules XT to Windows 95.
It's probably older than that.
Right. It's amazing how you have served through this. Thank you for that. But definitely we.
Ms. Lafreniere, questions, comments on that particular item?
Yeah, I think this is absolutely necessary to ensure our citizens that they're being taken care of in emergency situations. I think it's one of those areas that we can't cut on because it's public safety in a different way than police and fire. But still, it's an emergency public safety issue, and I think it's one we have to support.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
I'm good, thank you.
No, I appreciate it. I know you've brought it up in past years, and we really do need this equipment. So, I'm glad we can fit it in the budget this year.
Just one more note on that. It does also help out the police, fire, DPW as well. It's not just communications, just.
It's communicating with all those.
For right. It benefits several departments, not just one.
Tyler, you want to say
That's
something?
exactly what I was going to say, is that it's supported from both chiefs.
Yeah. My sense is we're on a path with the budget that pay-as-you-go option to fund this in FY26 should line up. So I'm optimistic that we should be able to make this work.
That's great news.
But keep working the RFP and
We are.
driving it down.
We are.
Okay, next up.
So that was the only capital I have. The key change for the communications department, I'm again seeking a second in command or some, I don't have a title for it or anything yet, but some sort of additional assistance for the director. The duties have proved to be too much for one person to handle. Essentially, when the supervisor's position came out of the union, all those duties, along with all of the duties of a department head, came together, and it's too much to keep up on. My understanding is this is one of the only town departments, if not the only town department, that doesn't have a second in command or some type of assistance to the department head. And almost every time when I'm out of the office, because unfortunately it's me that I'm talking about, I'm still working. Either when I'm out sick, when I'm on vacation, there's certain duties that are not union duties that I have to take care of. So it would be nice to have some sort of backup that can take care of stuff, and I can truly disconnect and do that work-life balance. And it doesn't allow me to give the attention to the department or to the community that I need to, because I'm too busy playing catch up with other things. So, but as an explanation, I guess, to this, I think I can do it without really increasing the budget. I did put it in the budget lines for personnel. However, I'm 99% sure I have access to a state grant. They haven't gone away since 2006, something like that, that I can essentially cover that extra cost that I had put into the budget for that. I did decrease every other line item in expenses by about 15,000 total, with the 9,000 being moved in the training line. And as far as personnel-wise, it only added about 40,000-ish, and the grant that I would be able to help with is 51, so that actually gives me a little more to help with my personnel budget, because overtime is the hardest category for us. I can never predict overtime, and I actually had to cut that a little bit this year as well. I usually try to average out the past couple of years just because I always go over, because I have to backfill everything. Every absence has to be backfilled, and when someone resigns or there are things that I can't budget for, cause me long-term overtime filling and puts me way behind the 8 ball.
Elaine, is this director or second in command, the assistant director, is this in your mix right now?
Yes, it is.
And it's funded through the state grant, or it's funded through
Through the budget appropriation.
a regular budget?
We did include
So
that.
you have it in there.
It's a necessary position.
All right. Anything else?
Well, that's essentially it.
Any questions, comments? Mrs. Ritterbush?
No, just I understand. I feel your pain. We have a person at work who is essential, and she got the flu this week for the first time in 2 years. We've been scrambling to cover the middle school scheduling. So anyway, I understand. You have to have somebody that's cross-trained and can take over.
Mr. Clark?
No questions. Appreciate the detailed explanation of everything and how you got to these asks, so thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Frontier?
I just want to say, I think this group does a great job, and they make me feel very secure in the town. And like I said, it is a public safety issue, and all the departments are involved, and I give them my whole support.
Thank you.
I also think with the town's growth and the population that we have, you definitely sounds like, and I would predict you'd need some more help. So all for it, and thank you for all the good work that you do. And this is a public safety issue and public safety matter. And thank you for your help and your departments. And I think this is going to help managing the expanded growth, and you'll have a little more quiet time on your vacations, which is very much needed, of course. Yeah, so I'm supportive of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, the department is the glue that pulls all of public safety together. Without it functioning well, public safety doesn't function well. It just can't, because it doesn't know what's going on. So I think with it being organized and arranged through the town manager's office and Kyla to fit it in somehow, we stand with it, and we'll figure it out. We'll be good.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan. Who have I not? Is that it? I'm sorry? Police. Oh, okay. We ready?
Yes, sir.
So the police department's going to follow their colleagues and give us the very high-level overview of their department budget requests, any major problems they have.
No, sir, Mr. Chair. 60 seconds is all I need. As I've explained in the past, the vast majority of our budget is based on personnel expenses. The majority of that is based on the union contract, which we're in the process of negotiating next fiscal year's union contract. So the projections are based on the current contract with no salary, no increase for the union employees. I included a pie chart that kind of breaks it down. Our expenses, Elaine slashed $10,000 and Kyla from my operations budget, but I guess we'll muddle through. And
Rand.
We'll muddle through, and again, as I spoke at the last time I was before you earlier in the evening, this does not include any increase for the second lieutenant. I will assure that we don't spend more than we're given, and we will get it done.
But you said a second ago, I misheard you, your proposed budget carries some level of an increase for our team members, correct?
Yes, it works out to be, it does. It's a 4.3% increase, and what's going to continue to facilitate that and drive that is our contract has steps. Like the teachers have steps and ladders, we have steps. We have a lot of people sitting at step 1, 2, 3 that over the next few years are going to progress through their steps, and then eventually, hopefully, it will stable out and then it'll just go back to the contractual increases. So during this period, we saw a big reduction when we brought in a bunch of new people, but now the people are on board and their contract is about a 4.7% increase between their steps for all the union members.
Okay. I mean, we've obviously been working a lot with the police this year to set the staffing and look at the alignment and look at the positions and so forth. So none of this is new to the board. But you don't have anything new in addition for FY '26 beyond what we've done to date from tonight, correct?
No, sir, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Manon, questions, comments?
No, I think hearing, the budget sounds favorable, and of course, we want to support the police, and thanks for all the great work that you do. And I always worry that, our first responders are our key to safety and security and reputation, that we don't go under in any of our support and investments for you. So I'm glad to hear the leadership is, getting more and more prepared with the successions and all that. The department has come a long way in the last couple of years, especially with your strategy and org plan. So I'm very supportive of this. Need that.
Thank you, sir.
What's that? Mary Jo?
Well, I understand these increases. We have done a lot of work in the last couple of years getting the department up, numbers up and ranks up, and tonight was an example of it. And I'm very happy with the work that has been done and that we've been done, and I'm glad to see the numbers in the department up where they should be.
Thank you.
It's an increase, but a necessary one.
What's that?
I'm good with the numbers. Thank you both.
Thank you.
I think everything's well presented, and we're really glad the department is building back up, and you have more people to help get these bigger projects done in the coming years, so.
Thank you.
I have no questions on the presentation. Elaine, all this is, again, inside what you and Kyla have worked out in terms of where we are today, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
For capital, one of the things we did that the deputy's been working on is he built the capital budget for cruiser purchases, which will be what I anticipate would be pay-as-you-go.
So as in years past, we're requesting 3 cruisers. It's a total of $230,000, 380. That breaks down to $76,000 a cruiser. The reason for the request is to maintain our fleet. As we grow with our officers, the need for cruisers, reliable cruisers, is ever more apparent. So we've switched to a full hybrid frontline fleet, and that has presented us with some increased maintenance items, because we have found that the hybrids have given us more problems than some of the past cars. So we do not like to get our cars outside of warranty, and that is about a 3-year, 100,000-mile warranty through Ford. We get on the other side of that warranty, and then we start incurring additional costs in maintenance and repairs to those vehicles. So the request this year, as in past years, is to replace 3 cruisers.
Pay as you go. So just to be clear, we kind of throw the term pay as you go around quite a bit. It is taxpayer money, but it is taxpayer money that would not necessarily, even though it's outside the operating budget, it would not increase the taxpayer's burden, because we have what's called free cash, which is money that comes back to us from prior budget years. And so it's money that we have that we can use for other things. So when we say pay as you go, these items that we want to acquire, like all the different things we've talked about tonight, we buy those, we pay cash for them. We don't go out and borrow against, get bonds or anything like that, go to the banks. It comes out of that bucket of money we call free cash. It's certified by the State Department of Revenue, but it's there for these types of purposes. Otherwise, we go back into the general fund, and there's other things we could do. But that's why I keep asking about pay as you go. I don't want it to impact the taxpayers. So if we have these hybrid cars that are giving us fits at 100,000 miles, have we considered not getting hybrid cars so that we don't have these issues at 100,000 miles?
I'll save you from this conversation. The town has a commitment to the sustainability program. It's very invested in it. We did, while the deputy was with the capital improvement, that topic did come up as assessing the viability of the program in its whole and how we roll it out.
We do not have a position yet to say that we're going to come to you yet and say we want to move against hybrids, but we're watching the industry and we're watching where that is going. So it's being discussed at multiple levels and throughout my industry and with my peers.
Okay. All right, I'm good. Anybody have questions on the capital requests, comments? No. Everybody good? Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So with those presentations, Elaine, and I know we have others to do in future meetings, where are we currently at with our budget overall, and where do you see us headed, as we get closer and closer to town meeting?
So I think the current gap is about 1.1 million.
1.151.
So we're getting closer.
Which is down from the last meeting.
Yes.
So, well, let's
We're trending in the right direction.
recap that a little bit, because about 2 months ago, we started with a gap of
$4
million. And that was based on department heads submitting budgets, looking at revenue that we thought was coming our way, state aid, et cetera, we see this $4 million gap. Fast forward to 2 months to today, and now we're at a $1.1 million gap. Fair?
Right, so we've been estimating, we start by estimating and anticipating, and then the numbers become firmer as we go forward, and budgets are trimmed as well during the process.
Got it.
So last week, we were able to get the governor's budget, which helped us a lot. There's increases in local aid and in Chapter 70, which is very helpful.
Yeah, so I think pretty much everything was up a little bit.
Yep.
From projection, which is great. Okay, so this 1.1, what's our plan for that 1.1? I know we have several months to sort it out. We're not in a great rush here, but what's our plan there?
I think our plan still is to, go through all the presentations, work with the Appropriations Committee on potential solutions, and close that gap.
Okay. Comments, questions on the budget overall?
I did have one question. I already asked it, but the public may be curious too. If we were relying on any federal grants for next year in the budget that might not now come through, I think you told me.
We do have a drug-free communities grant, which funds 2 people in Youth and Family Services Department. And so that right now it's funded, but we don't know the future, and we'll have to monitor that, which is and so when Youth and Family Services comes before you, we may discuss that a bit too.
Okay, and that's the only federal grant that we have right now?
That's the only one that funds operations.
Okay.
What's that?
I just had a quick question. For the governance budget proposal, the MBTA going down almost half, does it impact us?
The regional transportation went up, so I think it's basically going to the Metro West RTA, which is actually a positive change.
Oh,
Because we have direct service from the Regional Transit Authority.
Yeah, it says MBTA for fiscal year 25, 86, 476, and 2026, it's 56, 799.
But if you look at regional transit, it went up by almost an equal amount.
That's the one that impacts
Yeah,
us.
so it's moved from one to the other.
It's a wash, basically?
But it's positive because we get direct service from the RTA and not from the MBTA. So that's positive.
Thank you.
Mr. Frenier, any questions, comments?
No, I don't think so. I'm glad it's 1.15 and not 4, and we still have a way to go.
We'll get there. Kayla is going to do magic. Elaine is going to do magic.
So a couple of quick thoughts. One, I do believe we will get there. I think we can solve this challenge. As I said, we all said a couple months ago, we can figure this one out. It's going to get harder as the years go on during the school build-out period. We have one line item in the budget, the debt service, that is going from, don't quote me on the numbers, 6 million to 11 million, something like that, 7 million to 12 million. What is that number doing? So it's 12 million today, and it's going to 16 next year, so I'm a year behind looking at the numbers. Okay, that is a huge one line item increase. So this will not be, and the future years will not be normal budget years until we get past the build out of these schools and the debt service associated with them, yes.
Your debt exclusion will money because the amount that we're borrowing is excluded. So this is where your property taxes will be impacted because
Yeah.
you're raising taxes for the excluded debt as well.
Right. So as we talk about those taxes going up, because they're debt excluded, and that's when the taxes are going up, we want to do everything we can on the operating side so that we don't have to raise taxes any other way, AKA the O word, right? So we're trying to avoid that. So my point is, when you have a single line item in the budget that the taxpayers have to cover already, you got to be creative in what you do to solve that problem. So, you know, I'm a big believer in the 2.5 cap and not having an override at all, because I don't think we need one this year. I thought early on we might need to, but I've since like backed off that because I see how it's coming together, and that's great. Everyone's doing a great job. But on the other hand, we're still going to have to be more creative in FY26 to balance this budget than we have been in years past. We've never built $150 million worth of schools on our dime at the same time. So we're going to have to do some things differently. So we'll get to that as we get closer to town meeting, but I'm thinking in terms of stabilization and other stuff that we'll be able to work out. It won't be a big hit to anybody or anything. It certainly won't be to the taxpayers, but I think we're going to have to do some stuff that, you know, we don't do that here. Well, we don't build $150 million worth of schools in 2 years either here, right? So we're going to have to do some things different that we don't do here. So I'll leave it at that. Second comment, real quick, cuts. I love how I read these articles. They're making cuts to the budget. Every budget we talked about is going up. There's no cuts. Cuts are when you go down. We're not cutting any budgets. We're limiting the increase to a reasonable level that we can afford as a community. But this notion that we're cutting the budget is wrong, it's inaccurate, and I'd be happy to debate it with anybody in town when they want to grab a cup of coffee about cuts to their budget. No one's budget is being cut. Maybe their asks are being reduced, but their asks up. But their cuts, we are not cutting budgets. We're not cutting staffing. That is scare tactic stuff, and we shouldn't play that game. That's all I have to say. Anybody have anything else? Okay. We will end our conversation on the budget for now. And let's see, what else did we cover? I think we covered everything else, didn't we?
Yeah.
Mrs. Ritterbusch.
I did think of one thing I forgot to mention in the liaison reports. I believe we're going to the farmers market this weekend, a couple of us. So if the public would like to come talk to us about the budget or anything else, we'll have a table there?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to go for sure. Are you going to go, Aline? And Shadul? Okay.
Maybe they're later.
It's at 11?
Okay.
What time is it again?
It's at 10, I think.
10, perfect.
So you guys are able to go, that's great. Thank you.
Should we pick up materials from you to have at the table for people, or?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
Some folding chairs.
Bring the dictionary and show them the word cut. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Well, if it's not level service, it feels like a cut, even though the budget is still going up, you know.
Okay.
So we want to keep level
good.
service. Yeah.
Thanks guys for taking care of that this weekend. With that, I think we're ready to go to item number 12, which is to go into executive session. Mr. Clark, if you would be so kind.
I move to convene an executive session for an update and strategy session regarding arbitration filed by former Sergeant Timothy Brennan, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to consider strategy with respect to negotiations with the police, fire, DPW, and dispatch unions. C, approval of executive session minutes. D, to allow Elaine Lazarus, Lance Del Priore, Nicholas Anastopoulos, Joseph Bennett, and Scott Van Ralton to participate in executive session. And E, not to convene an open session after the conclusion of executive session.
Second. We have a motion on the table to go into executive session for those purposes and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Roll call. All those in favor, please state your name. Mr. Manon.
Edelman, yes.
Mary Jo LaFreniere, yes.
Joe Clark, yes.
Amy Ritterbusch, yes.
Brian Herr, yes. Thank you all. Have a good evening.